Well, welcome everyone to this edition of July 2021 edition of Cabaret Conversations through the 92nd Street Y. I am your host this evening. I am Michael Kirk Lane, and I'm thrilled to have you all with us. I'm also thrilled this month to be welcoming someone who is a masterclass in cabaret. She is a multiple Mac and Bistro Award winner. She is a master teacher throughout the country. She's the founder of the Midwest Cabaret Conference. She has taught for the O'Neill Cabaret Conference, Yale Cabaret Conference, St. Louis Cabaret Conference. She teaches a yearly workshop in Mykonos. Billboard magazine has called this woman a walking masterclass, and that is so true. Please welcome to Cabaret Conversations, Miss Lina Koutrakos.
I'm here.
Hi, Lina. How are you?
Hi, sweetheart. I'm good. Thanks for having me.
I'm so thrilled to get you and your stories and your history recorded as part of this series. So thank you so much. So Lina, let's start at the beginning. How did a world-traveled military brat find the world of cabaret?
I had to sing. That was basically it. I had to sing. When I was about 17 or 18, I thought, well, am I going to go to Los Angeles or am I going to go to New York? Mm-hmm. That's about all I knew. That's the only decision I really made. And I came to New York. My biological family's all from New York. So I guess even as a Navy brat, there was a New Yorker in me the whole entire time. So I came to New York and I thought, where do people sing? I was 18, maybe 19, 20. Mm-hmm. I didn't know anything. And I found the comedy clubs. And I realized that in the comedy clubs, like Catch a Rising Star and the Improvisation, and a little teeny one down on the east side called the Good Times, where they had singer relief. Instead of comic relief, It was a lineup of comics, and then they'd throw you a bone and give you a couple of singing spots. And let's see, at the place, I went to Good Times, I got up and sang, and the coveted spot was a 3-song set at 11 p.m. on Friday and Saturday nights.
Wow.
Listen to this. The girls before me, who I stood in the corner and watched and learned from, the coveted spots were Pat Benatar and Laurie Beachman, and then me.
Wow.
So I thought I was well on my way at 20.
I mean, to follow those two voices. Right? Wow.
I know.
And then that's where you worked with Andrew Dice Clay, working in the comedy clubs there.
He was in the comedy clubs, and the two of us, he had a big Jewish family from Brooklyn, mm-hmm. and I had an extended Greek family living on Long Island. So the two of us said, why don't we do something together, because we can at least have an audience. He, same age as me, he's, as you know, quite the go-getter. So the two of us booked Dangerfields. I put together a band, and we split the show down the middle and packed it with ethnic relatives.
I mean, that's amazing. But that's how most people's first cabaret shows in the city go too. With the first ones, friends and families, you start to maybe build a name for yourself in our world.
Right.
When did you start working in the cabaret clubs?
Soon after, right after the comedy clubs, I found out about cabarets. And I didn't quite get it, that you had to put together your own show. You had to talk in between numbers. I didn't get it. I grew up listening, and I didn't want to be Barbra Streisand. I wanted to sing with Led Zeppelin. So I was kind of a different animal than a lot of my cabaret contemporaries. No theater for me either. I wanted to be in a rock band. But anywhere where I could get up and sing, I would get up and sing. I also needed a job that wasn't a receptionist by day, where I would go home, take a nap, get up, and come into the comedy clubs 5 days a week just to get a chance to sing. I was tired. So I went to the Duplex when it was owned by Rob Hoskins and Irv Rabel, and sat on the steps and listened to people singing, and started to cry on the steps because I didn't know what was going on. I just wanted to sing. And Irv Rabel was there, and he sat down next to me and said, well, why are you crying? And I said, well, I want to sing and I need a job. And she's a singing waitress. And he gave me a job. So that's basically how I got upstairs to the cabaret room and found a great man named Bruce Hopkins, who ended up, he was the only director in town back then. He directed me, Nancy Lamott, himself. And he introduced me to a piano player who had just come in from Chicago, who needed some divas in training. And it ended up being my best friend, Dick Gallagher. So, yes. Do you know him? Do people newer to Cabaret know his name?
I do know his name, but that's also because Jay Rogers directs me. So
Correct. Yes.
I know Dick through Jay.
Right. Okay.
So how was that experience learning about this art form while working in the clubs?
It was the best training ground I ever got, especially because I learned two things. From being a singing waitress in the duplex and then 3-4 nights a week at Brandy's for quite a few years, I learned how to sing with different piano players. And I really look back on that time as a stretching ground, style-wise, vocally. You know, Dick sometimes played Brandy's, and when that happened, it was brilliant because we had arrangements and we had rehearsal time under our belt. But Chris Marlowe, who played back then for Nancy Lamott, he was a jazzy side. So I kind of got some of that stretching. And then there was Rick Jensen, who was a singer-songwriter, and I got to work with him. So that was, and learning how not to scream at an audience to get their attention, but to shut up and sing to an audience to get their attention. And then when they moved me into the cabaret room as a waitress, then my education really began, because I sat as a bartender or a waitress in 2 or 3 shows a night at Don't Tell Mamas. We used to have 1 o'clock in the morning shows and watch people. And I would watch Nancy Lamott, Kathy Najimy, Karen Mason, Jennifer Lewis, Scott Bakula, Jason Gra, and think, okay, why are they so good? What are they all doing that's making this work? And just when I thought I got the formula, somebody would put a monkey wrench in it, and I'd have to go back and think again. So I learned what I liked, how they did it, how to do it myself. And the common denominator was authenticity. And that's a hard one to put your hand on. And then I decided to be a director at the same time, because I wanted to keep talking about why it worked. It excites me.
While you were in those first years working in the clubs, you just mentioned some artists, but were there main artists that were inspiring you in the cabaret art form?
Yeah, I mean, lucky for me, I came up through the ranks in a time where they were also my peers. So we got to throw it around with each other. Nancy Lamott became a really dear friend. I know that she inspired me because for the first few years of watching her, I was simply jealous of her. That's all. I didn't like her. She was good. She had good people writing for her. And I thought, I think you really like her. And then Karen Mason, Sally Mays. So even though I didn't want to necessarily do what they did, I wanted to be as electric, as talented, and as exciting as all 3 of them, for example, were. But they were all different. So,
well, then you ended up touring with Nancy, right? You went to Europe together?
Nancy Timpanaro, Nancy Lamott, and I. First, there was Nancy Lamott, Jennifer Lewis, Sharon McKnight, a girl named Julie Shepard, and I. And we all went to France for 2 weeks. That was my first. That was spectacular. I stayed connected to France till this day, musically and personally.
Well, yes, and you're the one who brought J.P. Perot into our lives in the cabaret
that's
world.
Right. You're a West Banker. You know him, of course. Yes, I did. And yes, then Nancy Timpanaro, Nancy Lamott, and we went to Europe together. God, was that fun.
And took this art form there. Do you think, I find when I'm teaching and with this virtual teaching, as you know, I'm now getting students from around the country and around the world. My cabaret history course, last time I taught it, I had this lovely actress from Ireland take the course. But the art form is so unknown outside of New York or maybe Chicago or St. Louis, where you teach as well.
Yeah.
Why do you think that is? Why do you think the art form hasn't gone further outside of New York?
Well, first of all, I think the very nature of cabaret is its intimacy.
Mm-hmm.
I think historically, I mean, you teach a history class about it, but I think historically part of that is the small boîtes we sing in, hence the intimacy. But then, of course, I went to Madison Square Garden and saw Bette Midler do her cabaret show.
Yeah.
And I was up in the balcony and that was intimate, you know? So it is more than just the size of the room, but I think that's its historic roots. But the intimacy has to prevail. Is that the right word?
Yeah.
I love when I speak like I know what I'm talking about. I love that. Yeah, the intimacy, hence the authenticity I talked about before, a direct connection with your audience, no fourth wall like in theater, and no grand smoke and mirrors and sound systems and earplugs like in rock and roll, which I absolutely love. But I am of the opinion, and I feel it's a victory for me because I have always said to my cabaret students, you can go to Giant Stadium and see Bruce Springsteen with that huge E Street band behind him, and he is doing a cabaret show. There's no fourth wall. He sings and speaks directly to you. He talks over a vamp in between songs, and he is as authentic as it gets. So I am so happy he pared it down and went to Broadway because I was right.
Did you see, it was a few seasons ago, and I felt the same way, Sherry Renee Scott did her one-woman show on Broadway, Everyday Rapture. It was her, two backup singers. It was a cabaret show in a Broadway house.
Right. Look, that is what I am since the 18 months of pandemic and quarantine and all that. That's what sort of come to the surface for me personally, as I too have been able to teach everybody I would travel to teach in all these workshops all these years. I've been able to do it on Zoom and Jam Kazam, which I love. And I'm really grateful about that. But in my solitude, other than that, I've put my rock and roll life in the city that's been going on the same amount of decades as my cabaret life, which I used to try to keep separate from each other. Because in the late 80s, being a rock and roller and anybody knowing that you were a cabaret singer was the uncoolest thing I could have done to myself. And I was selling out the bottom line.
I mean, you had two very parallel careers.
Very parallel. And I did really well at kind of keeping them separate. I can't do that anymore. I'm older. It's all of me. I just want to be who I am, you know, and I don't care if anybody thinks I'm cool or not anymore.
Well, I think you're cool, and I think we should show our audience how cool you are and have our first clip of the evening.
And I don't know what you're showing.
I kind of love that.
Okay.
I mean, Karen Mason wouldn't let me tell her what I was showing. She's like, I just want to be surprised. So
good. I'll go with you.
All right, here we go.
Okay.
This is from the 1989 MAC Awards.
Oh, no.
I need to read you a little something before I sing my song. It was these words that inspired me to sing this next song. It is from a book that I read some years back. The book title was The Total Woman. Well, some girls know what that book was all about, so just a few lines will let you in on it. Okay. My first favorite quote is, "A man is lonely without a woman, for he has no nurse, no maid, and no love. It is only when a woman surrenders her life to her man that she becomes whole. A priceless jewel. Ladies and gentlemen, his queen. You don't own me. I'm not just one of your many toys. You don't own me. And don't say I can't go with other boys. And don't tell me what to do. No, don't tell me what to say. And please, when I go out with you, don't put me on display. You don't own me. Don't try to change me in any way. You don't own me. And don't tie me down, 'cause I'll never stay. I don't tell you what to say. I don't tell you what to do. So just let me be myself. That's all I ask of you. Well, I'm young and I love to be young. I'm free and I love to be free, to live my life the way I want, to say and do whatever I please. You don't own me. I'm not just one of your many toys. You don't own me. And don't say I can't go out with other boys. And don't tell me what to do. No, don't tell me what to say. And please, when I go out with you, don't put me on display. I don't tell you what to say. I don't tell you what to do. So just let me be myself. That's all I ask of you. Well, I'm young and I love to be young. I'm free and I love to be free, to live my life the way I want, to say and do whatever I please. I'm young and I love to be free, to live my life the way I want, to say and do whatever I please. You don't own me. You don't own me.
The last key change scared me.
Lina, I know you teach this, and I've read it in interviews with you before, and we've, I think, talked about this in the back of a club or two over the years. Let's talk about the importance of lyric in this art form.
Yeah.
As compared to any other genre of musical performance.
I know. It's a trip. It's first. I think it's first. Look, there's something that happens, I think, when you were talking before about why cabaret isn't a better known art form outside of New York here, you know, in a couple cities, but not the way we would like it to be. And I focused a lot on the intimacy of it. So we can't get on these big, fabulous stages and get it out there in that way. And even though we've learned a lot online, on Zoom, on Jam-Kazam, making our own videos, which is great. May it continue along with live music. But even that has a certain intimacy to it that our production value can't meet what the pop world has going on. Otherwise, we screw around with the very definition of cabaret. So we do a balancing act. But your question was what? I just enjoyed myself talking so much, Brian.
The importance of the lyric.
Michael.
Importance of the lyric in our art form versus other genres.
Even with the musical directors I have worked with, they're all about the music, and they absolutely know it's all about the lyric first. First of all, it's how you connect to a song. It makes you even more authentic. Forget about the audience at this point. What am I telling you? Why am I standing there, usually with 1 to 3 instruments in a quiet room, telling you something? I'm telling you, the idea of connecting to a lyric and then putting it in front of my rock and roll band, there's my Bruce Springsteen analogy. It's beautiful. It's a beautiful exercise that Cabaret has given me. I went to see my friend Karen Mason when she was the understudy for Glenn Close.
Sunset Boulevard.
Yes, I wanted to see Karen. I God bless Glenn, I wanted to see Karen. And when she walked out and opened her mouth and sang, I thought, there's her training. People don't even know what that is watching it, the general public in a Broadway theater, but she popped in a way. Donna Murphy pops like that. Sally Mays pops like that. I think it's extraordinary. And I think that's all lyric first. Lyric first, and your own subtextual connection to it. It's a stone you mustn't leave unturned. It also is what makes you unique. The other thing about Cabaret is that for a long time, I think people thought it was a woman of a certain age, no men, croaking and telling her life story. So it's not only the lyric, but it's lyric first.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you think that it's that not having the character to hide behind is why it's such a difficult art form for so many performers to tap into? There are so many brilliant Broadway performers who try to do cabaret and it doesn't translate.
I know.
When I had Cheetah on the series, she spoke about how the first time she did a nightclub act, she was petrified because she didn't have that character to hide behind.
I have to say that even my first cabaret show at the Duplex, where I was singing "Oh My Man, I Love Him So" at 20 years old, I remember thinking, I don't know if I like this. Now, you've been interviewing me for 30 minutes, and I can't shut up. I am not at all, lacking in anything to say. And I was petrified that I didn't get to hide behind the noise of the band because rockers didn't talk, or the characters I got to play in my high school musicals in my search to sing. So, boy, if that happened to me, I can imagine what somebody like Cheetah Rivera felt like. You feel like, I think, you're without a net.
I think for me, as I was starting out in this art form, the thing that got me comfortable in my own skin doing it was actually my shifts in the piano bars.
Absolutely. I mean, listen, when you're young and you're working the piano bar and you really want to say something and nobody will be quiet, a good, will you guys be quiet? Really, really lets you know who you are. And I said it nicely.
Lina, I'm curious about this with you because it's something I experienced working, as you know, I was at Mama's for years. I was at the Beachman for years. And now I've circled back and I'm back at Mama's right now.
Fun.
I found in the years, especially at the Beachman, when I had everybody from, KT Sullivan doing her shows weekly and, Joan Rivers there every week, to the student showcase from the art school in Jersey City.
Right.
I found that, yes, I learned so much from watching KT and Joan and Jeff Herner, but I think I learned just as much from watching the bad shows.
More. More. Me too. The thing is what's the common denominator with all the great shows? That's what I kept trying to find. But it got clearer and clearer every time we saw the shows that didn't work. Yeah, big.
And it's like you said, it's that authenticity. It's that connection. And you've said something to me once in person, and then I've read it in some interviews with you as well. And I always credit you because I've stolen this from you.
Good, I steal too.
But it's the concept of in Cabaret, the audience as your scene partner.
Yep. It's brilliant. I love when I say brilliant things.
I love when you say brilliant things too, and I could steal them. What is that dynamic for you? And how do you explain that when you're teaching?
Jeez, I don't know. It's my favorite thing as a singer. Mm-hmm. My favorite thing, even when you're not singing a song where you're actually singing to those people where there's no fourth wall. A lot of what we sing is, I could sing "I'm Gonna Love You" like nobody's loved you, come rain or come shine, as an opening number to my audience. That makes sense. I'm singing right to my scene partner. But if I decided to sing it to the man I am now, thank you, engaged to, thank you.
Congratulations.
Why, thank you. I loved when girls did that. Now I get to do it on
Now
Zoom.
you get to do it.
Right. If I were going to sing that to him, but in front of an audience, I would put him in my head and he would be my scene partner. It's all about the lyrics, and it's all about what we don't say. I'm going to love you. Like what? Mm-hmm. It's in my head. Well, like nobody's loved you, Michael. Come rain or come shine. I love that. As you can tell, I like to talk. I love to have a scene partner, but a quiet scene partner is my favorite. Yeah, I think that's it too.
Although we've all had those moments when someone in the audience isn't that quiet scene partner.
So once I'm doing a show at Don't Tell Mamas, and there's a guy stage left, 2 in. And somewhere at the beginning of the show, he gets up and takes his chair, which are not quiet chairs, and turns it around. So he's facing the exit sign and his back is to me. And I went through all the stuff you go through in your head.
Uh-huh.
I cursed at him while I was singing a song in my head. I thought maybe I'm too loud. Maybe they should turn the sound down. And then I thought, ignore it. There's other people here who want to see you. And then finally I said, sir, excuse me. I can't figure this out. Is there a reason why you've turned your chair around and are not looking at me? And he said, oh, well, I just really wanted to hear you. And everybody said to him, turn around. And so, yeah, I know what you're talking about.
My biggest moment of that is I was in the brick room at Mama's doing the show. And ended up with, I knew one of the 3 in this group. I didn't know the other 2. And it was 3 priests who had been drinking.
It's already a bad joke.
And one of them starts singing along to everything.
Yeah, those are good.
And I'm reaching towards the heartfelt moment of the show where I sing Irish lullaby that I sang at my grandmother's funeral.
Oh.
And I could see my music director going, how are we going to handle this? How are we going to do this? And we do this big medley of Irish songs before it. And I finally just stopped, like, sir, they paid to hear me.
Did he be quiet?
Yep, sure did.
God, that's a trip. Isn't that a trip?
Yeah.
Teaching people how to be an audience while you're actually performing is hard.
Yep.
Right.
As you made the transition from working in the clubs and performing in the clubs to teaching, take me into that.
I was a full-time waitress at Brandy's for years. Mm-hmm. I was the woman waitress who opened the Cabaret room at Don't Tell Mamas when it opened. I was in the Cabaret room when 88's opened as the waitress and bartender as well. And then 88's closed. Mm-hmm. I thought, I don't know how I am going to make a living or where I'm going to sing. So 2 really great things happened. 88's closed. I was sad and out of a job. And I started teaching a class right before 88's closed at 88's on Saturday mornings. Mm-hmm. because I wanted to share what I had learned, and it's a language I wanted to speak. It's why I like doing this with you. We both want to talk about this,
Right.
So I did that, and I had just heard Vicky Sue Robinson, who originally made the song Turn the Beat Around, famous on the radio years before Gloria Estefan covered it. And she was doing a rock cabaret show at 88's. And I thought she was fantastic. I was so inspired by her doing her rock and roll, having been on Broadway and still being as intimate as the cabaret rooms. I thought I can do this. So I was out of a job. I needed to sing. I needed to make a living. I started teaching to make a living, loved it. And I started full-timing with my rock and roll band because I needed to sing. So it was a great jumping off place for the second part of my musical experience.
What year was that when 88's closed?
It opened in 88, actually, and it was sometime in the 90s. I don't even remember when it closed. I'm not good with dates. I can tell you that I was in the middle of a divorce when it happened, but other than that, I don't know the year. The decade was the 90s because I started at the bottom.
The cabaret world in the late 90s really took a dive.
I guess it did, huh?
The cabaret world has had this hills and valleys lifespan.
Right.
Where we dipped in the late 60s, early 70s, came back roaring in the 80s,
right,
and dipped again in the late 90s, early 2000s. And I think we're on an upswing again.
Well, I've decided I have a trio right now, Sean Harkness, Marcus Simeone, and I, called Clearly Now. And I have told them, I've insisted upon it with them, that I watched something on PBS a few months ago, and they were talking all about the Spanish flu. And they said, and what happened after the Spanish flu was indeed the roaring 20s. And I went, I think, and I hope, and I'm insisting on it, that the same thing is going to play itself out now. Kind of, you don't know what you've got till it's gone idea. Yeah. Live music. We live in New York City. You know how lucky we are? I know you do. To walk from club to club, what you're doing now at the West Bank. That's so New York. It's so cool. We're doing Pangea, a little teeny boîte in the back of some restaurant. It's so New York. It's so, oh my goodness, I can just walk out of my apartment and go see live music. I hope that I'm right about it, because indeed I have been insisting on it. So I hate to be wrong.
I think you are going to be right about it. And since you've brought Clearly Now with Marcus and Sean up, let's watch a clip.
Okay.
I can see clearly now, the rain is gone. I can see all obstacles in my way. Gone are the dark clouds that had me blind. It's gonna be a bright, bright, sunshiny day. I think I can make it now. The pain is gone. All of the bad feelings have disappeared. Here is that rainbow I've been praying for. It's gonna be a bright, 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 sunshiny day. Look all around, nothing but blue skies. Look straight ahead, nothing but blue skies. can see all obstacles in my way. Gone are the dark clouds that had me blind. It's gonna be a bright, bright, sunshiny day. It's gonna be a bright, 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 sunshiny day. It's gonna be a bright, bright, sunshiny day.
How lucky are we to get to make a living making music with friends?
It's exactly what I love about Clearly Now, more than anything. Getting to make music with, I love it. I think that's why I like a band so much, more than just one friend.
Yeah.
You know? Yeah.
Yeah, it can get lonely when it's just you and your music director, I guess.
Well, yeah. I mean, that, as you know, is a very special relationship. Who is your musical director?
I work with William T. N. Hall.
Oh, so you have a good musical director.
Yes. my team is Jay Rogers and William T. N. Hall.
Well, I don't know about Jay, but you know that we're old friends.
Yes.
Yeah.
I think it might have been Jay who first introduced us, actually.
I think so too.
Yeah.
Actually, I was the booking manager, a job you also know. You and I have parallel lives going on at different times. I was the booking manager at Don't Tell Mamas, and Jay Rogers came and auditioned. We had auditions the first Tuesday of every month in those days because there was none of this, you know. You had to do it live. And a guy named Jay Rogers came in and saying, "Yes, this is my real voice." And I booked him. He always says I gave him his start. Yeah.
I love that.
Yeah.
Let's talk about the relationship with music directors, though. Who you've worked with some greats over the years. You mentioned Dick Gallagher earlier. You mentioned Rick Jensen earlier. What is that relationship like for you in the cabaret setting?
In the cabaret setting, it's a marriage. There's no doubt about it. I have worked with a lot of different people. I was married to Dick Gallagher. I was married to Rick Jensen. We're brother and sister. We're husband and wife. Talk about intimate. My goodness. The good, the bad, the ugly, and the brilliant that comes out in the music. You know, it is such a unique experience. You dance with somebody after a while, and you don't stay with somebody that you don't dance with. Musically and beyond, you know this very well. I'm preaching to the choir with the people I see on here, but look, you don't just have one lover in your lifetime. Well, not everybody, but and you make different beautiful things with different people. And like I said, singing with Chris Marlowe, I'm making a record right now.
Right.
Yeah, and I'm playing with different people. It's the combination of my both lives. It is, my other albums are original material that I'm so proud of, kind of Southern rock with a band I was with for decades called Low Country. And we had the best time, and talk about an intimate experience. It was great. But now I've kind of taken my cabaret stuff, which is taking a song that already exists, finding the lyric, interpreting it, and then turning that into the music. But I'm doing that with a full-out, extraordinary rock band. I've been able to gather over the decades of making music and putting it on Miranda Music. And I think its working title is Cover to Cover, because they're covers. And I'm a rock singer doing my cabaret thing to these rock songs with these beautiful musicians. If I hadn't experienced the dance with one musical director in cabaret, just like standing naked on a cabaret stage and then being Bruce Springsteen with the E Street Band, or Donna Murphy in Passion, it's its own art form, but it's also such a learning ground. You can't do that anywhere else.
Yeah. In it's the thing about cabaret is, like you said, you're taking usually a song that exists and people know. And in other art forms, you copy their arrangement. You sing it how it's always been sung. And in cabaret, in that relationship with your music director, you're finding a way to make it your own, to let your truth in that lyric come through.
You know, it's really, 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 I liken it a lot towards two things. Having a baby with somebody, getting married, having a child. Your child is anywhere from 60 to 70 minutes with patter. But, you know, it is. It's something that you have to make together. Or I liken it to a magnificent sexual experience, you know, but no matter what, look what I'm talking about. What's more intimate than that?
Yeah.
Those two things, you know? So yeah, God, it's great, isn't it? That relationship. And you can't explain it to somebody who doesn't have it like that.
Yeah.
And I think that it's also trained me to, I went up to Rhode Island, and one of the cuts on my album, my piano player is Mike Renzi. I got to dance with Mike Renzi and let him lead because I've learned how to dance in cabaret.
Do you think that the piano bar experience added to that for you as well? Being able to do that dance?
100%. Without a doubt. Yeah. Because every night of the week was a different pianist.
Right.
And you know, you have your favorites, your favorite tunes with your favorite pianist. And then it's a, talk about, gosh, what a fertile learning ground all of this in cabaret has been.
Do you think maybe that's one of the reasons that it isn't as well known outside of the city, is because we're blessed with so many great musicians here who can do the gig?
Exactly. When I work with, and I work with a lot of people throughout the US, when I have left their towns, one of the things that I have realized that I have to give them is the toolkit and permission to see if the jazzers in their community or the musical theater guys in their universities want to learn what they're learning, which is taking a song and making it your own, all the cabaret stuff. I say, you know, look, these guys come with skill sets and talent, but you're teaching them how to do what you love. So tread lightly and see if they're interested. But they do not have the plethora, that was the right word, Michael, of people that we do. We have arrangers, we have chart makers, we have players, we have composers. So yeah, it's gotta contribute.
Let's shift from teaching to directing. How is that different for you?
When I teach, I don't try to make them stage ready. When I teach, I try to give them a toolkit that they can hear me in my head once they start to do the work. I try to teach them how to be equipped to do the work. Lyric first. Who you singing to? What are you singing about? Being specific is what makes something universal when we put it out into the world. But I don't take all the little patches and try to sew them together like I do as a director and give them a final finished performance ready. I don't want to see people break down and cry when I've paid a cover charge to enjoy an hour's worth of music. I want to be the one who cries, thank you very much, as an audience member in the dark. I'm not equipped to be your therapist. Please don't break down in front of me. But when I teach, I want you, when I teach, I want you to weep. If that's what's happening, go. Let's go there. So when you put it on its feet, you plug right in. Without that. So I think that's what the difference is.
It's interesting that so much of the work, if you're doing the work in cabaret, it very much kind of goes along a method acting path.
Without a doubt. You know, I am not a trained actress. Naturally, I'm a pretty good actor. I've discovered through song, but I'm not a trained actor. But I will tell you, sometimes I realize that not every student is for me, and I am not the right teacher or director for every student. I admittedly say in classes and to my students, I've come to discover that I am a method teacher when it comes to doing the exercising for becoming this kind of a singer. Right.
You do that work in the classroom, in the rehearsal room.
Yeah, right.
So that it's there underneath.
Without a doubt.
And you can stand there center stage, still not breaking down.
Right.
But you've done the work and it's there in that connection.
Exactly, because once they say, ladies and gentlemen, Michael Kirk Lane, your job and your pleasure is to now communicate and give it to them. So everything you and your musical director have done, you and your band have done, you and your director have done, you and your heart and soul have done, you've done. You don't get on a bike and think, now I do this, now I do that. But it's all in you because your dad or your mom pushed you down the street on that bicycle. I think that's exactly it.
Do you use a director still for your shows?
Absolutely. From beginning to end, no, I don't. Because I know the formula.
Right.
I'm in good hands, but only for a while. Because no matter what, I cannot stand outside of me and feel. And I got to make sure that what I want to communicate isn't getting lost in translation. And that's a big word I use when I'm teaching and directing. I need to know what it is you're trying to tell me because something's getting lost in translation. And that you can't do by yourself. On the other hand, Rick Jensen and Dick Gallagher are really smart guys, but they're over to my left.
Yeah. They can't see it from the front.
They can't see me. No.
Yep.
So
I was having that exact discussion with Tracy Stark a week or so ago.
Yes. Yeah. You can't. So yes, I will bring in a director. When I would go and teach at the Midwest Cabaret Conference, the teachers and the guest teachers I brought in, we would do a show the first night. So I would have Sally Mays watch me run my 5-song set. And she would often say, I don't like that following that. Let's move it. And I would absolutely listen. Even Amanda McBroom, who doesn't direct, I would say, does this feel right? And she'd say, not quite. And okay. So always I bring in somebody. I brought in Mark Waldrop for my cabaret show Torch that I did some years back. And for all my rock and roll shows, I brought in Jim Lazar. Do you know him?
Of course I know Jimmy.
Yes. Isn't that funny? But he is incredibly cool and wouldn't let me get away with crap. So I brought him in for the rock stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, you need someone, one, that you trust, but
Absolutely.
two, won't let you get away with your crap.
Absolutely.
Won't let you pull your normal tricks.
My overindulgence. Right. Yeah.
Well, I think it's time for another clip.
Oh, Lord, Michael. Now what?
Well, let's dive into a little bit of your rock days. You talked about being at the Limelight, all of these great clubs. So let's see a little rock tune, Lina.
All right. Yeah.
Don't
The limelight.
The limelight.
My favorite part of that recording is that I actually walked down those stairs in like 6-inch heels in front of God and everybody.
Lina, who are the artists today in the cabaret world that inspire you or make you go, wow, they've got it? They get what this art form is.
It's hard because I am daily happily surrounded with a lot of people that I'm directing.
Mm-hmm.
Their courage inspires me because I am on the end of it where I am standing there watching them put their babies in my hands and me saying, I got it, and then I'm going to hand it back to you. So I'm inspired in those ways. I think my students and my clients have given me permission to learn at the level that I'm now at, which I don't know if I did for a chunk of time. But now again, making this record with these musicians who seem, well, they don't seem it. They're ridiculously talented. I don't know if I would have been able to do that as a singer had I not spent the last couple of decades watching these people let me teach them. I feel like I am in the bosom of being taught and creating with these people. And so I am inspired by my clients hugely and daily, because it's like, wow, look at them. And watching them go from here to here and then get introduced is like, oh my God. You know, you're busy doing the work and then it's showtime and you see somebody and go, look at that. So that inspires me. The people that I came up through the ranks with continue to inspire me because this is really who they are. This is what they do. This is who they are. It's the Karen Masons and the Sally Mazes, my friends, my girlfriends, you know, they inspire me. So, yeah.
I love that. You and I could go for another 2 hours talking about everything.
I know.
As we've done in the back of a cabaret room many a time. But we are at the time where I have to ask my last question so then we can get to our audience questions. And the last question for all of these conversations, I think you're number 14, is always the same.
What is it?
In a couple sentences, what is cabaret?
It is a personal, honest, musical expression of the soul that entertains us as well as makes us feel.
I love that.
I guess. I want to hear everybody's answer now.
I have some of them cut together and I will send you
Perfect.
I think we got the first 7 cut together. So I will send that to you.
I do want to tell you that there is a piece of an interview that was filmed when we were in Amsterdam by a television host. And I have the clip of it. And he asked us, Nancy Timpanero, Nancy Lamott, and I, what cabaret was. And the 3 of us gave a succinct answer. And Nancy Lamott's answer, which I cannot quote, is so worth seeing and hearing. And I have that somewhere, so I should get it out into the world. I think people, I've shared it at one point on my Facebook page. I would share it again because it's
You should upload that to YouTube so it can live there and people can find it.
Yes.
Well, I know all of our participants are going to be excited by what I'm about to say. And that is that the amazing Lina Koutrakos has agreed to grace us with a song live tonight. So Lina, I'm going to remove my spotlight so it is just you on screen. And you can go ahead and
share my sound and set us
share
up.
your sound and perform for the people.
Okay, guys, this is something I did in COVID, in lockdown, with Gregory Toroyan. I had asked my class to take a standard or two, and do an arrangement with it, with Gregory. And so I decided I wanted to do it too. So this is Gregory in his house and me in my house. And I'm gonna sing live, aren't I? Okay, hold on. I'm doing the exit the full screen. Here I go, pulling up my track. I'm doing what my students do, and they're better at it than me. Okay, music. Let's see. Here we go. Gregory, if you please. Okay. Soon it's gonna rain. I can't tell. Soon it's gonna rain. What am I gonna? Where is that worn out wish that I threw aside? Here's that rainy day. Here's that rainy day they told me about. And I laughed at the thought that it might turn out this way. Where is that worn out wish that I threw aside? It brought my lover near. Funny how love becomes a cold, rainy day. And rainy days here. Where is that worn out wish that I threw aside after brought my love free? It's funny how love becomes a cold, rainy day. Funny that rainy days.
Thank you, Lina. Oh, that was gorgeous.
Thank you, Michael. Oh, we don't want to hear it again. Thank you, dear. We'll call you.
Gregory was ready to play it again. He's ready for the encore.
We'll call you, darling. Okay.
Well, I'm going to invite all of our participants, if you would like to, you can turn your cameras on. And if you have a question, then I'll call on you and you can unmute at that moment. If you don't want to turn your cameras on, but you have a question, you can type it into the chat and then I can ask our lovely guest the question for you. Hello, everyone. It's good to see those of you who are turning your cameras on. Some nice, familiar faces in the cabaret world, but also here for the 92nd Street Y series as well. Lots of familiar faces. Does anyone have a comment, a question that they'd like to pose to Lina? Leslie, go ahead.
Yeah, I was going to type it, but I'd rather ask it. First of all, absolutely a master class. That was such food for the soul. Everything, I just drank in everything you said. And one of the things you said, I just thought, oh, she should do a show like that. when you said my search for song, and maybe you have, like when you said in my search for song, in my search to sing, I was like, wow, I'm so glad that you were called to on that search and that journey, and that you've shared your gift with so many people. So I'm just
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. That's beautiful. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. It was
Thank you,
much
Leslie.
easier to say than talk.
Yes.
You can't gut when you're texting.
Does anyone else have a comment or a question?
I do.
Dorian, go ahead. Good to see you, darling.
Good to see you. When I was creating the last show, the Welcome Home show, I emailed Lina probably between 30 and 40 pages of patter that I'd written. And she emailed me back and she said, normally I just scan these things, but I've read every word. And then in capital letters, she said, keep creating. Then she took all of that, 30, 40 pages, and condensed it into a page and a half of patter. How do you do that? What are the elements you look for in condensing that?
Can it be enough that I did it? Dorian, I was just going to say while you were talking about it, I remember those 30, 40 pages. I remember saying, just keep creating. First of all, when somebody gives me a lot, it's so much better than when someone goes, well, I don't really know what I want to say. I get it, but it's hard for me. So when someone just gives it to me, it's easy. I can't do this with myself, but I can do this with others. I can stand outside and read that whole page and see that one sentence that's coming right from here from somebody. And I have the gift of gab, so I can put it into talking sense very easily. I love that I can see that. I'm really good writing the spoken word for others as well. But what Dorian gave me was a whole lot of Dorian. So I gave him back streamlined Dorian. So I think it takes two to tango. Michael, you and I were talking about our relationships with our musical director. This is a relationship between a singer client and a director when it's really working. Because what I don't want to give people is Lina talk for their pattern. Some of that seeps in. We can't help be who we are. That's why the connection has to really work, like you and Jay, because he gave me a whole lot of him. And I was able to feel and see and hear him and then give him back the essence of what he said. I think that's how I did it. But my answer is, I think that's how we did it. Know what I mean?
I say with my students, it's finding that the bunny ears version of yourself. You're presenting your story, but it's you in quotes on stage.
Dick Gallagher used to say, it's being yourself on purpose, which I really like too. Now, he didn't actually say it. I believe Jackie Gleason from the movie The Hustler said it, but it's much more relatable when it's not cool. So there you go. Yeah. The more somebody gives us, the more we can give them back. Them. Yeah. Good question, Dorian.
Thank you, Dorian. Thank you. Steve.
This was really wonderful. Thank you both for doing this. It's amazing. My question might not be answerable, but how do you? What are your effective ways of approaching a song? What are your favorite ways of getting into a song?
It's different all the time. I think of them like little treasure chests, and there's clues in the box. I even say this when I teach and stuff. There's clues inside the box. Sometimes it's a chord, the voicing of a chord. It's a major or a minor. Sometimes it's a word. Sometimes it's the title. Sometimes it's that one change in a chord. So it's the music, it's the word, it's a phrase, it's a lyric. I enter the beauty, the world of a song, different ways all the time now. And as a director, I even try to say to people, okay, you know what? Let's enter this musically. No words, just sing. If you're a real singer and you're not that accustomed to the lyrics, I'll try to lead you in through the lyric. And it depends on the tune. It's not my musical forte at all, but my favorite song, my favorite treasure chest is Stephen Sondheim, because every little bit of everything is a clue. I could be there forever. But I remember once Rick Jensen did a really haunting arrangement of Like a Rolling Stone, Bob Dylan's Once Upon a Time. And I thought, I'm not singing this. Well, he did such a beautiful arrangement of it. It has 5 verses. I drove from Branson to St. Louis in a car and did nothing but go over those lyrics until I found the clue in every phrase of it. So that was strictly lyric for me. Who knows? But if you think of them all as little treasure chests that belong to you, it's endless fun for a singer.
Fantastic. Thank you for that question, Steve. Anyone else have something or thought or a question to share? Yeah, go ahead.
Hi. I also experienced what Dorian did in a similar way, where I could just ramble on, and then Lina said, "Let me think about that while you sing your song." And then after, she says, "Oh, I got it." And it's like 2 or 3 sentences, and it's from a different perspective, but it's perfect. It's amazing. But my question is, you mentioned the album or that you're working on with these different musical directors, and I heard a sneak little peek of one of those, and it was fantastic. So I'm wondering when that's going to be available for all of us, because it sounds very exciting.
Thank you, Katie. You know, I love that question. Because I started it in the middle of the pandemic, and then we had to kind of take our hands off of it for a while. I think the song you might have heard might have been one that I did with Gregory Toroya, correct? We did Boss Skaggs' Lowdown, and we did our own thing with it. And we brought in Randy Brecker, the trumpeter from the Brecker Brothers, from What Goes Up Must Come Down, and every song you've ever heard. He came in and played on it, and he recorded his part after the band came in, because we were in the middle of the, COVID lockup out in the Hamptons, and sent it to us. So with that in mind, I hope it's out by spring, because I'm dying to do a live show with a full band and figure out what I want to do with this thing. For me, I think my show is going to be kind of a big old TED Talk, a little bit of cabaret, and a whole lot of rock and roll. So I hope by spring. Thank you for asking, Katie.
I love that. I look forward to the album and this show announcement we just got.
Yeah. I see Alex and Ann sitting together. Hi, kids.
I know they're working on a show today, rehearsing, and
they are working on a show, and I am so excited to be part of it. And you know a little bit about it, even from me, Michael, because we are looking for the perfect room to put it on the perfect date. The date is very specific. It's February 27th. Why, you ask? Because it would have been Elizabeth Taylor's 90th birthday. And Anne is doing a show, and Alex is musical directing it, about Anne's life, time on Broadway, and friendship with Elizabeth Taylor, because she played her daughter on Broadway. Yeah. So talk about a fun show to work on. It's so rich and exciting. And I get to be with you guys to see it for the first time tomorrow in its entirety. Yay.
Amazing.
We're calling it a stumble through.
Yeah.
Because nobody will be running.
Well, Anne and Alex, thank you for being here. It's great to see both of your faces on the screen. Does anyone have anything else they want to add? We've got a little time left, or we can call it a night as well. Mary Sue, I know you're there. Jackie Draper, good to see you as well.
No.
Go ahead, Jackie.
Okay.
There you are.
Okay. Yes. I thank you so much for your wisdom. It's been you're absolutely rapt the whole time,
Oh, great.
and I thoroughly absorb and agree with what you say. What do you do when a student presents you with a song whose lyrics are really not up to the quality of Sondheim or whatever? And how do you approach that? Because if the lyric is number one, sometimes they're not terrific.
I am not particularly delicate as I grow older. A, I don't have the time. B, I don't want anybody to be so delicate with me that they just don't cut to the chase. So I will clearly say, and usually what it is that a song isn't as mature or well written or well matched for the performer's ability and life experience. So I will clearly say that song is down here in the second grade and you're working on your college thesis. So we can pull and push it till the cows come home. But what is it about that song that is pulling you towards it? And let's find something that matches you, that expresses it even better. I will teach people the way I want to learn. And sometimes for me, a lot of people leave my workshops because that's not how they want to learn. And I love that there's a teacher for everybody. You know, I'm a whip cracker because I want whip crackers. I want to keep moving. So I would just say straight out the truth. It really, you know, you're full of all this wisdom and you're going to sing something simple. And then sometimes that works perfectly too. You can have a good time with a simple lyric, but a stupid lyric, if you're not a stupid person, that's a little tough.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, thank you.
Yes, I hope I answered these questions.
Yes, sure.
Well, thank you everyone for joining us this evening for Cabaret Conversations. I will be back for Cabaret Conversations next month with an amazing younger performer who is pushing the art form forward, Blaine Alden Krause. And then again in September, my guest will be Eric Michael Gillette. So we'll have lots of history that time as well.
Who you can tell that one of my favorite shows I ever directed was Eric's. Tell him Hook, Line, and Singer was one of my favorite shows, and I am grateful to this day that he brought me on board for it.
I will definitely tell him that.
He's a smart cookie.
Yes, he is. And lots of history in this art form. And
Yeah.
like you, Lina, I'm sure we'll have lots of great stories to share. If you are watching and you are interested in the Cabaret history course we have through the 92nd Street Y School of Music, that 4-week course is starting again the first week of August. That will be on Thursday evenings. And I will send that information out in an email this week to all of you as well as the chance for the recording of this session. And there were a couple of clips I didn't get to that I had prepped for this evening. So I will send all of the YouTube clips of Lina as well, and also linked to Lina's information so that you can find out when that album it comes out and when Clearly Now will be playing. So thank you all for joining us, and thank you so much to my amazing guest, Lina Koutrakos.
Thank you, Michael. Thank you, everybody. I had a great time. Thanks.
Fantastic. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Good night, everyone.
Good night,
Thank
everyone.
you.